right, cool. So we are back for the official episode number 1, participation trophies.
It'll be a doozy. Participation trophies.
Hey, so one of the things that I said last episode is we were going to do some research and some studies and statistics and all that stuff. And so, of course, the first thing that I went to go do is I went to go look this up, right? And I didn't know that participation trophies started in Ohio. Of course they did.
Of course they did. In Ohio.
Right? In Massillon, right? So not too far. It's kind of funny. And so close to home, started in 1922. Okay, I didn't know that either. I don't know if you knew that.
That long.
I thought, well, then that's the thing, right? So I thought this was like in my lifetime, something that got brought about. But I think it's just more or less like in my lifetime, it became more and more of a thing.
The norm.
And now today, everybody gets an award, right? And participation trophy, participation award, whatever ends up being, it's some kind of award or reward for participation, right? Yep. So we're going to dive into that, discuss, the for argument, the against argument, the opinions, all that stuff. So, I want to hear what you have to say first of all, because
it'll be a doozy.
This is going to be a good one.
You'll know what side I'm on.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, here's where I'm at. So you know what? We said we're going to do this life roast, and we're going to pick topics that are near and dear to our hearts. And we both have young kids. I have some older kids, and we've been through the coaching years of different teams and done whatever, where either I've been the coach or I've just been the dad on the sideline. And, I've watched some great teams. I've watched incredible athletics by some, young men and young women. And, you get to the end of the year, the end of the season, and you think, okay, well, that was a great season. I really enjoyed the time together. Got to meet some great parents. And all of a sudden there's that end of the year party where coach shows up with a box, and you think to yourself, oh God, here we go. And sure enough, what comes out of the box, if it's Little League Baseball, it's a guy holding the bat on his shoulder, all shiny and gold. And it literally says, the whatever league name, 2024, no number, no place, no anything, just here's a trophy. You were a part of our team. And I just shake my head and think, did they need to budget for that? Could they have saved us a few bucks on the sign-up fee, or is that all a part of it now that they have to budget for these silly-ass trophies that get thrown in a box, and 20 years later, when mom and dad are cleaning out the closet, they throw them in the garbage. So,
my parents give them back to me.
Yeah,
they find that shit and now it's my stuff, and I'm like, I don't.
We should actually, we're going to write that down. That should be another one of our things is parents, we do it at our house too, save a bunch of crap that later on they think their kids want, and the kids get it. Because my parents did it to me too, where I thanked my mom and said, oh my God. And I spent my 20 minutes saying, oh wow, look at this. And then I threw it all in the garbage.
I feel even worse at that point. Yeah. Now it's harder to let go of. It's like, mom gave it to me. Oh shit.
So on the trophy world, what I did was, we said, all right, this is just not going to be an opinion based. I thought, well, let me look up what a participation trophy is. Like, what does the internet say the definition is? So I wrote it out here. A participation trophy is a trophy given to children who participate in a recreational sport or competition, but don't place first, second, or third. First, second, or third. I kind of looked at that and thought, oh, okay, so the importance is on placing first, second, and third. Like, those are the kids that excelled or achieved or did something, but the rest of you get a trophy. I don't know what that means. Does that mean 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th, 20th, depending on how many teams are in the league? I thought, but that's the definition. So I don't know what you take from that. So participation trophy. That's where we're at.
Cool. So, I'm going to go over some of the, so the research that I was doing as I was looking up, one of my big obsessions is psychology, right? So I'm always diving into like the why of psychology and like, why do we do the things that we do? And so I found a bunch of like I went both sides, right? I found some for arguments, I found some against arguments, right? So I kind of want to just go over some of those and discuss them, because they can be they're going to be kind of fun. Okay, right? And then there's questions that follow it. So some of the things that I found were like, kids who receive participation trophies learn the positive impacts of developing social skills, leading an active lifestyle, and trying new things. Okay,
Sure.
cool.
Sounds great.
Children know that participation trophies aren't the same thing as winning first place. Children's lives are already full of competition. We don't have to load them up with more. Celebrating children's participation requires, or regardless of success or failure, protects children's emotional health. Psychology Today. And the last one places emphasis on learning, teamwork, personal growth instead of winning. They can contribute to a positive, inclusive learning environment. They are not adults and thus not ready for the adult world of competition and winning and losing. The against arguments, and I'm a little biased too here, but there's an expert in psychology and the growth mindset. You might have heard of her, Carol Dweck.
Oh yeah.
If you haven't, Carol Dweck, growth mindset, amazing stuff, right? And she was caught saying that too much praise, such as participation trophies, actually leads to kids shutting down and giving up when faced with difficulties. Children are praised way too much for simply completing assigned tasks. It goes on. There's other stuff that says giving children too many trophies enforces the idea that you will always win in life and that it's not okay to lose. Additionally, it supports the assumption that you can put in minimal effort and still win an award, which is one of the things that I want to come back to, because I feel like that is a big thing that we overlook when we're talking about participation trophies and stuff like that. There's views that say, it kills competition, leads kids to believe they're not, or they are good enough, prevents kids from developing a growth mindset, implicitly say that kids weren't great like other kids, drive kids to resort to cheating, teach children that winning isn't important, leads to lackadaisical and narcissistic adults, leads to social stagnation. I even have the religious argument, which I'll bring up later if we need to, but just for the people that are like, well, what does the Bible say? Well, I'll tell you what the Bible said. So I thought all this stuff was really interesting, because the four arguments almost are completely moot in my personal opinion.
Well, I look at it and I agree. And again, I'm going to try my darndest to play both sides. But you'll know where I stand. Hell, you probably already know where I stand. If you listen to the arguments for the pros, they're all about some psychologist that is deeming a child to be scarred if they didn't get one, and that they're going to, based on having a competitive edge, they're going to be a narcissist. Well, that makes absolutely no sense. The whole idea of competitive edge is that you're willing to work harder than most. If that makes you a narcissist, I'm the rest of the world, all rich and elite people should be narcissists. Some might say they are.
That's a whole argument itself right there.
I would stand to say, with that, we are so worried about the emotional feelings of those who did not strive that we give them these awards that continue to enforce, don't worry about it. It's okay. You don't have to work that hard. We're still going to give you something. Don't even look at the other kids as the ones that worked harder, or they had more skill. They went in their backyard. They did whatever they had to do to get better. They work with their parents. Their parents work with them. Their parents paid for extra lessons, whatever it may be. All right, we'll just give you a trophy. Like, come on.
Yeah, well, so I get it, right? To a certain degree, having dived a little bit into childhood development and all that stuff, like, I understand that there's a certain point where you don't want to make kids, you don't want to discourage them, right? Like at a certain age, you try not to do things that are discourage them. And then so like in T-ball, they say it's more about having fun and learning and all that stuff, right? And it's not Major League Baseball. It's not high school, pro stuff. And so you don't want to make them feel like there's a certain level of desire that you want them to have to continue playing, right? Because if T-ball is fucking hard, every kid on T-ball teams, almost like 98% of T-ball kids suck.
Right.
Right. They're just horrible.
Right.
And so if we didn't find ways to reward them for just playing and showing up, trying new things and all that, they might quit sooner than they get a chance to find out what it's really about. Right. So on some level, I think that, there should be some kind of system that helps encourage kids to keep playing until they figure out they really don't want to play or they really do want to play.
But why? Why do I need a system to get them to play a sport? That in the long run, I think percentage-wise, there's only a limited number of baseball players playing in the major leagues.
Yeah, of course, but there's the argument for, and again, this is a two-sided thing, right? There's the argument that it's important that kids try new things,
sure,
to explore stuff, right? And maybe they're not going pro, but there's a lot of skills. You've played sports, right?
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of you're not a pro player,
no,
but there's a lot of skills and stuff that you developed and learned playing sports that weren't sport specific that probably helped develop who you are in life, right? And there's the argument for that, right? Like you learn a little bit of discipline, you learn commitment, you learn teamwork, you learn, communication and listening skills and all that stuff, right? At least the idea is, I've worked with a lot of kids who don't learn any of that shit.
Right.
It's just, that's the argument for it, right? Is to get them into sports, because where else are you going to learn a lot of that stuff if not at home? And a lot of parents aren't teaching their kids that shit.
Right.
Right. So providing an environment where they're encouraged to participate.
But where's the trophy coming?
Well, the trophy, you're right. The trophy is the reward system.
But what's the reward?
For participating.
I mean, so they can put that on their dresser at night and say to them, "Wow, my parents signed me up for a sport. They dropped me off twice a week. I participated enough because the coach had to put me in based on the rules, and I finished the season out, and they gave me this award, this ribbon, this plaque, this little gold statue to reemphasize the fact that
you played.
I played. Like, I have the memory that I played. I have the memory that, some kids, like you said, some kids suck. Other kids are great. Do they remember the trophy, or do they remember the great game? Do they remember the hit they got? Do they remember the holy crap I scored, or I shot up a free throw and I made it? I don't think they give a shit about the trophy.
I don't think so either in the long run. And I kind of look at it like I was thinking about this the other day. And I'm like, when a team wins a Super Bowl, right? Everybody gets the ring.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't matter if you played or not. Right. And so in my mind, I'm kind of like, well, that's kind of similar, right? Your third string kicker or whatever hasn't played all fucking season.
Right.
And he's still getting a ring.
Sure.
Right. But does he actually, like, what are the feelings towards that? I don't know. It's just one of those things that was like ruminating around my head. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know the real feeling of what a participation trophy is supposed to feel like or supposed to do for you. I feel like it's one of those things that it's almost like the lazy way out in my mind, right? It's like the easy reward system.
Is it a reward system or is it a guilt system?
Well, is
it the guilt of the parents or the league that they feel bad for the kids that they know don't excel and they're never going to get a trophy? So, hey, why not include them in the trophy winning?
And there's both sides to that too. It's like, okay, well, even if, and this is purely hypothetical, right? Even if that reward system works for the kids who didn't participate or didn't win, sorry, they participated. That's the whole point of a participation trophy. What does that do to the kids who actually win first, second, and third?
Sure.
Right? Does it say, wow, I busted my butt to get here? And yeah, everybody knows I won, but only for like 5 minutes until they started passing out the participation trophies and all those kids are cheering and all the parents, paying attention to them. So like, what does winning really get you? What does it really get you?
Right.
And so like, there's that whole argument where, what kind of damage is being psychologically done to those kids?
That's all horseshit.
Like, man, if I was in first place and all the attention got taken off of me, for all the hard work that I put in, it might be just as damaging as not giving those kids participation trophies.
Right. But again, that's where I look at the whole thing and I think to myself, does the kid really care? And we get to it, okay, you're an 8-year-old and we gave you your little ribbon or we gave it and yep, you were a part of the team and oh my God, this is so exciting. At what age do we stop that? is there a rule? Do we get to be 13 or 14 and we say, okay, now psychologically, this is not going to be as scarring on them, so we don't have to give them the participation trophy? Or do we just ride this all the way up until you get some badass coach that just says, hell no, you're not getting a trophy. I don't give a shit what the league says. I'm in that camp. But like, who set the rule book? This goes back to our whole thing for life roast of like, who determines like where this happens? What studies have been done? What bullshit has been done? Or is this just, again, another thing we've created where we deem that a child is going to be scarred because they didn't get a trophy when, the kids who actually excelled deserve the trophy based on historical, prowess and what we've done in Olympics and sports and whatever.
Well, and that's what I want to know too. And I didn't really find a lot of information on like why, like one of the things so I found out that it was started in Massillon. I found out the year, I found out that it was the Ohio Invitational or whatever it was. But one of the things I couldn't find out is why they even introduced it in the first place. Right? Like, who was the leading psychologist who said, hey, maybe we should try this? Or who was the coach who said, well, maybe we should try this and see what happens? And then there's really no follow-up studies. And for stuff like this, it's, even if you do find the studies, there's evidence on both sides.
Sure.
So you're going to have the psychologists who are more, let's say, emotionally based, right? They base, decisions more on emotions. They're going to be the ones that are going to be like, okay, well, participation trophies are good. We see that there's an uptick in self-confidence in the kids. And then you're going to have the psychologists on the other side who are more intellectual, right?
Right.
Saying this doesn't make sense, right? So and like you said, like, where is the book that says this is how it's supposed to be? And I feel like it's one of those things that you mentioned guilt by the parents, right? It's just like, well, I feel bad that my kid didn't make first, second, or third. So I want him to feel like he won something.
Yep.
And like you said, what, like a 6-year-old doesn't care.
Doesn't care.
If I went and handed my kid an award right now, so my kid has first, second, and third place awards and trophies, still doesn't care. Right. Because he's 7. Right. He's 7 or 8, something like that. Right. But he has awards and they get hung up on the shelf, and I'll find him on the floor. He doesn't really talk about him after like 2 days later. It's done. It's over with. He doesn't even remember it happened. Right. He remembers, what he remembers when we go back out on the field? He's like, oh, that kid was on my team last year. We did X, Y, Z. Oh, that was my coach, blah, 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 whatever. And this is what I learned and did. And last year I did it like this. And those are the things that he remembers. I don't know if he even knows where his trophies and medals are for karate, for baseball, for anything.
But that's why I make the argument that this is a parent guilt thing or a league guilt thing. Like we feel like we need to give a child something, and I think it's gotten worse over time. I mean, here's another part of the game that I don't understand as a coach: snack. We're here to perform for 1 hour, like they ran a marathon and they're just completely depleted of all nutrients that they need a snack. And moms coordinate and they create a list and they go through it. And what do they feed them? Shit. It's not like they gave them an apple or fruit or something to, put the essential sugars back in their system. They're handing them, popsicles and muffins and whatever. And you think, this is ridiculous. These kids did not kill themselves and exert themselves to a level to need a snack. But they need snack or Gatorade or some other thing. 1 hour, people. 1 hour.
I feel like that's like a whole discussion itself, right? Because
absolutely.
And that's part of it, right? Like, I want my kid to be like the pros. And that was a discussion that we had before. It's like, this isn't MLB.
No,
this isn't the NBA. This isn't the NFL, right? I try to tell people all the time, like the Gatorade, the snacks and stuff like that. Like, pro athletes drink that because they need that stuff.
Sure.
Right? But you're right. Like, your kid barely played for an hour. Most of the time he's just playing in the dirt and picking dandelions in the outfield.
Yep.
but yeah, he needs his electrolytes replenished and all that stuff, right? And so, and I feel like that actually ties in really well because it's that I don't know if I'd call it guilt, but it's this idea that it's a conformity thing. Every kid has to be treated at a certain level by everybody and taken care of, making sure they're comfortable. And we talked about that comfortably uncomfortable and uncomfortably comfortable and stuff like that. And we want everybody to be comfortable, right? We want everybody to be happy, everybody to be content, everybody to be rewarded, everybody to be, filled up with, and sugar's the happy drug now.
Oh yeah.
Right. For kids, especially. And these reward systems that we place are the happy pill. It's like, oh, you're feeling down because you didn't win. Here's a trophy.
Yeah.
Oh, you're feeling down because you're tired or whatever. It's 8:00 at night and we're playing a game. Here's some candy or a popsicle or whatever. If you're feeling uncomfortable, we feel guilty as parents, not me because I don't care, but
right.
most parents will be like, oh, let me take that pain away, right? Like that's like the natural instinct for most parents now as a kid. And I don't know, some might argue that it's because we struggled so much coming up, like a lot of our generations did. And now we're in a time where we have the ability, and I'm sure that'll be an argument that we get is, well, now we have the ability to do better. So we might as well do better. But are we really doing better? Like, are these things making our kids stronger, faster, better, smarter, more productive members of society?
The sad part is we to even get to a level of whether it's good or bad. I honestly believe it's guilt. It's pure guilt. Your kid is not good enough. My kid wasn't good enough. I have some kids that are super athletic and others that are super smart. Okay, great. Do they need a trophy? Does a trophy help them excel? Again, I go back to studies and whatever goes on, but I still sit there and think we are taking our adult wishes and pushing them down on our kids. And I think you said it best with your son. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care at all. Oh, I got to oh, this is great. Where is it? It's in the back seat of the car. It did not go up on a special, podium in the house and like, ooh, here's our trophy and here's this and here's that. And even if he did win, okay, great, you got the trophy. He may look back or look at it and say, that's right. I was the number one wrestler in fifth grade.
Right.
I won the division title. Well, that's impressive. I think from a participation trophy, and people will laugh at this, the parent should get the trophy. Thank you for dropping your son or daughter off at practice twice a week, having them on time, and getting them to show up. Because honestly, as I coached, I had certain kids that got dropped off. I didn't want them on the team. They weren't there because they wanted to play. They were there strictly because mom and dad wanted them to socialize. They wanted them to be a part of the team and do everything. They had zero desire to want to play. They had zero desire to want to learn. They literally would, like you said, pick daisies in the outfield. They didn't want to be there. And yet next season, there they were. There they were again. But we gave them a trophy. We gave them a ribbon and said, hey, thanks, Johnny, for being a part of the team. Really looking forward. Not really. Next year, because the kids that really wanted to compete always had to get sat on the bench because the rules said I had to play Johnny. I had to put him in. and I'll keep going with that. Sometimes it was dangerous because some of these sports are dangerous. You got basketball and you got all this, you got shots, you got people running up and down the courts. Baseball, oh my goodness. You get a rope line drive and there's Johnny looking at the birds, following a bee around. Ding! Johnny takes one off the melon.
I have a kid that's on my son's team right now that I have to yell at him all the time to put his glove back on.
Mm-hmm.
And he's out in the field. I'm like, dude, like I try to explain over and over again. And his parents are just sitting on the sidelines, not saying anything. It's like, but like you got your glove off, man. Like what happens if a ball comes flying at your face?
Right.
You could dodge out of the way, but you're kind of slow. So probably not going to happen. And then guy at second base just playing in the dirt. It's like,
but does he get a trophy at the end of the year?
I honestly don't know how our league is yet because this is the first time us in this league particularly, but I hope not. I hope not.
But that's the argument there is.
So
Let's give him a trophy And again, did they earn the trophy? Did they do the things they needed to, or was it just a guilty feeling from the league or a parent that we should make them feel accepted? They're going to learn to want to play this sport. And deep down, they may have no sporting desire whatsoever. It's mom and dad pushing them into it. And some situations, the ugly duck does turn into the handsome prince and figures out the game and slowly becomes it, and great. But that's a desire that has to happen through the kid and through the parent working with them and the coach. Does the trophy do shit for him? I don't know. Again, where's the studies?
Well, okay, and let me ask this question then, real quick. So it's called a participation trophy. Okay. There are kids, and we know this, who don't always show up on time, who aren't at all the games, they want to sit on the bench. They don't pay attention. Are they participating enough to get a participation trophy?
No.
Right?
Are they participating even when they are there?
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So like what levels, and so I guess that's where part of the argument is okay, what warrants a participation trophy? What warrants a level of participation in these leagues, right? Because if you don't participate, if you only show up half the time, if you're only putting in half the effort, you're basically saying, and this is where the argument against is like, okay, well, we're teaching kids now that no matter what you do, it's enough.
Right.
Right? No matter what you do, you should get something.
Right.
You might not get
Some
first, second, or
reward.
third. Right? And I guess that's the thing, right? Like, I understand that kids understand that it's not first place when they get those trophies.
Right.
Right? They know it's not first place.
Right.
But when they see another kid get first place, well, where's my reward? Where's my something? Where's my medal? Where's my ribbon? Right? And how far does that carry with them in life, right? You're at work, somebody gets a promotion, somebody gets a raise. Well, where's my raise? I've been here. I've been showing up.
Yeah, came every day to work.
Sat
at my desk.
9 to 5 every day.
Right.
Why don't I get the promotion? Why don't I get well, he got 25 cents. I know I don't. I know he's better than me, but I should still get at least 10 or 15.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So like, where's that carry over in life? And then with the parents, you know, with the whole guilt thing, it's so many parents don't, and I know this, right? Because I know a lot of these parents, I meet a lot of these parents through coaching and stuff. They're not working with their kids at home.
None.
They're not teaching them the skills socially or physically at home. And so they're relying on the league and the coaches to do it for them. And they're not setting up their own reward systems, right? Because like I have my own reward systems with my kids.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
Because I think reward systems on a level is really important for kids to encourage them, you know, good behavior and good morals and all that stuff and values and whatnot. So they get rewarded for the things that they do, but they don't just get to wake up in the morning and make $1, make $5, whatever the word ends up being, right? They don't just get to wake up and come downstairs and be like, I'm alive, right? Which is, I mean, with my kids is a huge thing, right? They're alive. That's great, right? Because sometimes it's a little, it's a little sketchy, right? But where, you know, like, what are we doing? What are we achieving?
I mean, transfer what you just said to tell your kid to go upstairs and clean his room. And if his room is clean, spotless, the reward is ice cream. The reward is TV time. The reward, pick something, doesn't matter. That's the trophy. And you go upstairs, and all he did was he had 2, you know, shirts that were on his bed, and he put them in the hamper. But the rest of the room looks like a bomb went off. Okay, well, I would say his effort was subpar, mediocre, whatever you want to call it, but we would still give him the ice cream. What did we teach the child? And that's how I look at these trophies. Like, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being a part of a team. We can't say you did great or you did bad or whatever. Some of these kids, maybe they did fine. Okay, they're good players, but the team just didn't win. Okay, great. But thank you for going upstairs and not cleaning your room, but you did just enough in your own mind to think you had added value. Why am I going to reward that?
Okay, so here's a big thing for me. Standards.
Sure.
Dude, I feel like stuff like this dramatically lowers standards.
Yep.
And it's for that reason.
Yep.
Right. And a lot of it's clarity. Right. And this is purely from like a coaching standpoint. It's a lot of it's clarity. If I say, hey, go clean your room. Okay. If I'm not specific, my kid doesn't like, he's going to try to wiggle around it. I get it. Right. But if I'm setting a standard where he goes up to clean his room and only puts 2 shirts away and it's kind of like all messy and stuff still, and I go up there and say, this isn't good enough. Right. Like I appreciate you putting your 2 shirts away. Cool. But the rest of this is not acceptable. This isn't the standard that we live by. This isn't the standard of the assigned task that I gave you.
Yep.
And setting that standard says, okay, well, I can't get away with this. Right. And so why even have first, second, and third if that's not the standard?
My point exactly. You're
right.
Absolutely
like
right.
If there's no standard to uphold, why are we even competing? Why not just play the season and not even have playoffs?
Don't even score.
You don't even need playoffs. You don't even need to score. You don't have to do it.
It's supposed to be about
Why are
fun.
we keeping track of the winning and losing? If it's supposed to be about fun and learning development, why are we keeping score? Right? Because I have kids every inning. What's the score? What's the score? Because they care. They want to fucking win.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think, and we're trying to take that away from them. I get so worked up about this idea that losing's okay.
Right.
Right. And I tell my kid, he goes to a tournament. I'm like, dude, listen, if you lose, I'm not going to be mad at you. Right. That I get it. Like, you're allowed to lose. Right. But you're not going to win unless you put in the work to win. And if you want to win, you have to win. Right. If you just want to do this to learn all the cool stuff, right, like karate especially, like you just want to go there and learn some cool stuff, cool. But you're not going to go to competitions without the desire to win.
Sure.
First place is the objective. Yes. First place is the objective when you go to compete.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Right. You are striving to get first place. If you don't, that doesn't make you a bad, horrible person.
Right.
It doesn't make you less than in a spiritual way, right? Like, it doesn't make you like not worthy of my love. But you go there to win.
Right.
You're going to win.
Right.
Period. You're going out on the field. You're going out there to play to win.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
And so we're missing that complete standard. And what does that do to a society when we say winning is important? Just showing up is, and having fun and learning the skills and all that stuff, right? Not where does the innovation go? Where does the creation go? Where does the hard work ethic go? Where does the standard for the industries go?
Right.
You know, if that becomes the mentality, because as we see in history, as we adopt these certain mentalities, right? The whole, weak men create hard times thing.
Right.
Right. Strong men create, easy times create
right,
all that stuff. Right. And so like we are now living in this period of time where weak men are creating hard times.
Right.
And we see it on a daily level.
But again, take that, and this is where I'll go every time, and I'm going back to it again. Who's created this?
I don't fucking know.
Parents have
Parents
created it, and it's like each time you look at the generation before your generation. My day, I was this and I was that. Da 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 da. Well, you're right. Each generation is getting softer and softer and softer, and what is it creating? Soft. It's creating these entitled, and we sit here and say kids are entitled, but whose freaking fault is that? It's the parents. So when we sit there and say, oh, they need a trophy. I got into an argument, coached basketball this last season, and, our team sucked. Good boys, good players, whatever. I think we went 6-10. 6-10. Not the greatest stellar season. Maybe I was a terrible coach. It's funny. I wrestled and never played basketball, but here I was, the basketball coach. Why? Because we had 87 kids sign up and they were all going to be on one team. Okay, I will coach. Figured out how to do it. We went 6-10. We get to the end of the year. It's the end of the year. Season's over. Giddy up. Nice job, fellas. And what happens? The other coaches, hey, let's have an end of year party. All right, let's have an end of year party. We'll all hang out. We'll have some cake. We'll have some treats, whatever. Let's get them trophies. Why? We sucked. We didn't excel. The kids didn't listen. They ran whatever play they wanted, no matter how many plays I called. No one passed to each other. They're a bunch of 9-year-olds. Okay, we're going to give them a trophy for what? The league didn't even give them trophies, but we felt the urge to give them a trophy. Again, for what? And when I said, no, thank you, I'm not into giving them a trophy, there were 2 coaches on each team, and so it was 3 against 1. I think we should give them a trophy. Well, when I made the statement, that's fine, give out trophies. My son will know to take that trophy and just throw it in the garbage because it doesn't mean anything. You hand him, and it literally, I think it might even said participation. Like, what did we show our children? What was that? That was a guilt-driven thing. The league didn't pass anything out. The other coach dads said, "Oh, we should give them something." Again, for what? Did it build something? Did they earn the merit of a trophy? No. But I'm the dick for standing up and saying, "This is so dumb. Why are we wasting our time with this?"
The value, right? Like, what's the value of a participation trophy?
Don't know.
Right? It's like giving a kid 10 cents when what he wants to buy is $5.
Right. Exactly.
Right? Like,
It's
what's
perfect.
the value?
It has no value.
You know?
No,
And-
I want
Go ahead.
to go on this, and I call it stupidity, and I mean that in the straightest sense, stupidity. We're handing a child something that has no value, and then I wrote down a list of things here, and I've already mentioned this one, that the value or something is to say, hey, instead of giving the trophy to Timmy, let's give the trophy to mom and dad for dropping off at practice each week when we know Timmy hates playing football. Timmy doesn't even want to be on the field because when he gets hit, it hurts and he cries. But dad was an ex-jock and dad wants him to be on the field. Okay, well then fine, dad, nice job. Way to put your kid on the field. We'll give him a trophy, or let's give a promotion to a leadership role for an employee who tried their best. They weren't the best, but hey, damn it, you did so well at being average. We're going to put you in a leadership role. And how many people work for someone that you think, how in the hell did you get in this position? Well, somewhere, sometime, we boosted you. We gave you the role that you didn't earn. You didn't show excellence, but we gave you the role. I'm going to rattle off a few more. Let's reward the D student for coming to class every day. Nice job there, Kenny. You don't study. You don't really give a shit. But you know what? We appreciate you for coming to class. So we're going to give you the award for coming to class. You disrupt class. You annoy the other kids in class. You really don't give a crap. But you know what? Thanks for coming. Like, what? Give an employee recognition at an award ceremony for being mediocre at their job. They don't excel. They actually probably are disengaged all the time. But you know what? Appreciate you being here.
That's a boost of self-confidence.
Yeah, I mean, let's really show them that you matter. Like, what? And we're starting this at an age 4 and 5 years old to say, hey, here you go. Attention span of a flea, and you hand them this bullshit, and let's keep doing that up until a point. Again, at what age do I go, okay, we're not doing that anymore?
Yeah, so that was one of the questions I had. Like, is this acceptable for a certain age, right? And when does it stop?
Right.
Okay, because again, T-ball, I don't even know if I care enough to say I don't care if they give them a participation trophy or not.
Right.
Right. Like, I don't know if I really care enough at that level. But I know damn well moving forward, like once my kid starts playing baseball or basketball or whatever, like I don't want it. So what age do we cut that off if we have them at all?
Yep.
Right. And why do we have to have them? Why?
Yeah. Look, you can see, I don't know if you can see in the camera here, there's trophies back there.
There are.
There's trophies.
That one says number 1.
Yeah. And they're from our boys' flag football teams. And they were the number 1 team. They were unstoppable. And every kid on the team excelled. And yes, we had our kids that didn't excel. My son was good, but he wasn't the greatest player on the team. They got a team trophy because they finished first out of, let's just say, 10, 15 teams. Okay, great. Did the 15th place team get a trophy? Hell no. What would you do with it? Do you write number 15 on it? We took 15th place because future generations would look at it and go, I'm really confused. You took 15th? Why is there a trophy in the trophy case? You took 15th. Okay.
Well, I don't know. If we keep going down this road in 50 years, that might be a big deal.
And it might be the way society is right now. 15th is wow. That's
Oh
stellar.
man,
I mean, you were 14
out of
away
16,
from number one, right?
That's
It's fantastic.
fantastic.
So I wrote some other things here. So I wrote, what does I call it a P trophy, and a P trophy, you can add P to whatever you want there. We'll keep it clean. Being average or below average is okay. Let's reward that. Here's an award because adults are worried about your feelings. Let's strive to be the best at something is not necessary when you can get rewarded for doing minimal. That's what a P trophy is. What does it solve but satisfy a parent or an adult, and then have some psychologist add the extra? It really gives a boost to their self-esteem. It really does what? It makes you feel good, psychologist, that we're going to hurt a child when the whole goal was being a part of a team, learning how to play a sport, and excelling. Why is the trophy even necessary? If they're in a tournament and they played against 15 teams and you can see a bracket play and you can see where you fit and you get to the end, first, second, third, fantastic. Everyone knows when you didn't make it to that final 3 spaces, no matter what age you're at, why would you expect something?
I certainly would not. Okay. There's obviously an overwhelming amount of opinion on all this stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
One of my big questions here is it goes back to the whole reason why we created them. And I just mean society. And to protect the emotional health of the children and to boost self-confidence and all this stuff. Right. And so when I look at this stuff, my question is there another way to achieve the same results while also not diminishing that value we talked about without compromising our standards and our values, without going against the idea that this is going to take away from competition and growth and development and all these things, right? You're like, is there a way to kind of bridge the gap, right? Because I feel like one of the things that we do as a society today is find the easy way out. Always, right? The path flows in the path of least resistance, right? The water flows and whatever. And so we do these things because it's just the easy way to do it, right? Why try to teach my kids these lessons when I can just give them a trophy and shut them up for 5 minutes and have them talking about this, right? Or make us all feel good. So the big part of this for me is that I believe that this mentality does take away from the drive, right? Because if in sports, at least, when you're playing a sport and you're not striving for first, second, or third, right? I mean, obviously you strive for first and you get second or third. If you're not doing that in life, if you're not developing that in sports, right? I feel like that's how you find out. We talk about how the MLB and the NBA and the NFL and all these professional sports, there's only so many people that get in. Right. And so if you're playing the sports for social development and all that stuff, cool. Right. But I feel like it's this kind of thing that weeds out all the kids that don't really want to play.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Maybe you've been forcing them to play football because you played football and you want that trophy to make them feel good so that they keep playing. Right. But they really don't want to, and they want to play something else, but you're not exploring it because you're so caught up in this idea that they need to play a particular thing or do a particular thing, and we're not teaching them outside of that, right? And so, I talk about the growth mindset and the research behind that. There is evidence, there are studies, and you can look this up. And I bring up Carol Dweck because she is the expert on the growth mindset, right? Like the leading expert. And so if you have questions about this, just do the research just on that alone and you can find the arguments. But there are more ways, there are better ways that have been proven to boost kids' self-confidence and their self-worth and all these things, while also feeding them the things that they need to have the desire to grow and develop and be better.
Sure.
Right? And participation trophies is not on that list. There are more effective ways that they
Right.
have evidence shown to do. So why are we just settling? And this goes back to the easy part. It's like, well, all that shit's hard. When you read that stuff and you figure out the way that you have to bring up your kids in order to instill these values and stuff in it, it's hard. And you know it's hard. You know it's hard to raise your kids in a world where having a competitive edge is an advantage, where standing out is an advantage, where being not average, not mediocre, not compliant, not falling into line, not being just like everybody else, and not being equal to, and all this stuff, like striving to be better. That's hard.
Oh yeah,
it's hard. It's hard encouraging your kid to continue doing something that you know is good for them without giving them all the little participation trophies along the way, right? It's not easy.
Right.
But 90% of people opt out of it completely and just rely on other things to do it for them.
You just brought it up, and you said it before too, and you just brought it up again. Standards. It's standards. But you know what? The other word is discipline.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at society, it goes back to our discussion of why we created this thing. It's that judgment. Everyone's worried about the judgment. Everyone's worried about, how will I be seen if I don't do this and whatever, and blah, 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 blah. But it's really discipline. How do you discipline your child? How does a child discipline themselves? And discipline isn't in scolding. Discipline is, am I willing to do the extra? Am I willing to do what's hard? That's a discipline. Can I do what's hard to achieve what it is I want? Whether it's a sport, whether it's life, whether it's grades, it's discipline. If I'm not disciplined, or I don't teach discipline, and again, it's not scolding. If I don't teach discipline in that these are the rules and this is what it's going to take to attain it. Hell, listened to a story yesterday that a family takes their kids on vacation to a trinket shop, like, one of these crap shops that just sell a bunch of garbage and da-da-da. They take them there first to get them a bunch of trinkets so that they'll behave when they go out to dinner. Okay, so they have to bribe their child to get something that will occupy them so mom and dad can enjoy a dinner. How about discipline? And that little Timmy and little Becky or Tommy needs to sit at the table, eat their meal, and act like a civilized young human. But we take the easy path because it's just simple, no different than the trophy. I hope I don't scar their emotions, so let me give them something in hopes that they will not be upset, or that I personally, as the adult, can get through whatever it is I need to get through. And again, the kid will learn more from discipline than they will from, can I have? And yes, they will get every single time.
Yeah, I feel like standards, discipline, and boundaries are huge with this. I just heard something recently that falls in line with that, the whole boundaries thing. It's like boundaries are something that I set, that I say I'm gonna do without anybody else having to do anything, right? And especially with kids, it's like, if you don't sit down and have your manners and all that stuff, like, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. You get to choose what you get to do, but this is the outcome that's going to happen if you act like this, right? And I feel like stuff like that should help develop discipline in kids as they grow up, right? Because that's something that they're learning, is discipline. If I'm disciplining my kids and they're not learning how to self-discipline in the process, what's the point?
Exactly.
Because self-discipline is ultimately going to get you what you want out of life.
Right. I mean, think of it this way. We've all been to the supermarket where the kid's throwing the tantrum right at the register, because what's there? Candy. And what's the favorite thing of kids? Candy. How many parents fold and give them the candy? Are they folding because the kid's right? Or are they folding because they don't want to be judged? They don't want to be seen as the parent with the screaming child, so they just satisfy the child and give them the damn candy bar. I mean, they think of it.
I know. I'm a parent. I know. I get it. I see it.
So and some people would probably laugh at me, and I've been told by many, like, why are your kids so well behaved? Well, because they taught them young. Ask me for something at the store and see what happens. I never hit my kids. I never had to. But they knew. I set the stage before. When we walk in the store, we are going into Target right now for X, Y, and Z. Ask me for anything, and what do you think the answer is? Mo. I turned to Matthew. What's your no? I'm like, okay. They knew what was happening. Same thing in sports, same thing in everything. What is our goal? To win. And we have the coaches. It's not about winning and losing, it's how much fun we have. Bullshit. Losing sucks, especially when you know kids didn't try. Winning is fun. But if I set the stage early and just say, hey, we are going to do our darndest to win. But if we lose, as long as if the old saying, leave it on the field. You gave it your all. We just didn't have it today. It's okay. And I'll reward you just as much as if we won. You gave it your all. But you didn't give your all at that register when you fucking threw yourself on the ground and kicked around and da-da-da. I will lift you up and drag you out to the car. And they will learn. Okay, there's no trophy. The trophy was they got the candy. So what did I teach them? Throw yourself on the ground. And that's how you get it.
And dude, that's the big thing is like, I don't think we understand when we do this shit, the consequences of that, right? Because, and they say it all the time, if your kid acts out and you're giving them 100% of your attention, what do you think they're going to do? What do you think they're going to do? Right? If a kid's rewarded for not participating and just slacking off all the time, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to go to school and they're going to be that D student because they don't have to be an A student to get by.
Yep.
Because who cares? And you'll have that kid. And the other side of the argument is like, well, you'll have that kid who doesn't care. They're going to not care about the participation trophy and they're going to keep going. Right? They're not going to care about all that stuff and it's not going to make them a D student. And you have that. Sure. 100%. Right? Like this isn't like 100% thing. Right? Where it affects everybody the same way because that's what we're trying to say is it is not. Right? None of this stuff affects the kids the same way. But, is that a chance you want to take? Right? Not disciplining your kid out in public is and having the consequences of what happens later on. Is that a chance you want to take? And, some people don't care, whatever. But like everything that we're teaching them at these ages affects everything that they're learning as they grow up.
Yep.
Right. And it leads into one thing or another, and you see it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And it sucks, right? And that judgment part is huge, right? And here's the other part that you said, the guilt, but now the parents get to go say, oh, hey, look at this reward Johnny got. Oh, he played baseball this year, and they're posting it on Facebook. Yep. Oh, the team did great this year. They didn't win the championship or anything, but look at this picture of them with all their medals. Yep. And they get to share it with all their friends and their family, and grandma and grandpa are loving it because like, oh, that's such a wonderful medal, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so like they're getting to show that off and they're getting to feel good about it. And it's so selfish. Like, it's so like, and that judgment, right? Like being out in the store and your kid crying, like I have kids. When we go out in the store and my kids are crying, they're going to stay crying.
Yeah.
Because like, you're not going to get what you want.
Yeah, and I don't care what other people think.
That is my big thing. Like, you're not going to get what you want
acting
like that. You're not going to get first place acting like a 10th place kid.
Right.
And harsh or not, I don't really care. And with the I expressed how with sports and stuff, like if you don't play like you deserve first, you're not going to get first. And it's funny because like I see other parents in the store now, right? Being a parent now, you're like the RAS, you're aware and stuff like that. I see other kids like acting out and stuff, and I just look at their parents and they just laugh, right? Because some of them, you always see both sides of it. It's just like I'm just like, they're probably sitting over there like trying to calm them. Some of them are over there like trying to calm them down, like looking around and all that stuff. It's like I don't really care that your kid's acting up. I can go out in public, your kid can be acting up, and I don't give a shit.
Yeah, but it's funny that you say that.
I don't care.
I don't care either. But you know what? I never get mad at the kid. Like, all right, you're a kid. I get mad at the parent. I sit there and think, bro, like your kid's acting like a little asshole. Like, take care of that. And you sit there and think, I'm trying to think of who the famous guy was, but if you do what's easy, life is hard. If you do what's hard, life is easy. The hard part is reprimanding your kid in the store. The hard part is telling your kid, no, you didn't win. And no, you don't get a trophy. The people who worked their butts off and took first, second, third, as the definition says, they deserve the trophy. If you want that trophy, if you strive to have that trophy and put it up on the wall, work for it. But that's what's hard. If you do what's hard, you get what's easy.
That's like my big thing. So
Yeah.
I don't really
Yeah, but
hard shit,
that's where
but,
I sit there and I still go back to this whole. I mean, I wrote it on here, and it's like, how does this reflect in society? And here's something that just came up in the last year or two, and this will stir pots too. The military.
Oh God.
We've lowered the bar to get in, so now you don't have to be as physically fit. You don't have to have the brain power. You don't have to have anything. You can. And this is not a male, female, he, she, her,
I know some
them,
badass
this.
women. I get it. Yeah.
Right, fine. If you can't carry my ass at 6'4", 260 off the battlefield, if you don't have the physical strength, my wife is a badass. She's 125 pounds soaking wet. There's no friggin' way she's carrying me, and she can lift weight. She's all in shape.
Yeah.
How am I going to feel if I'm out on the battlefield and you can't carry me off? But we've lowered the standards. Why? I have no fucking clue.
So everybody can participate.
So everyone can participate. It's the new participation trophy of saying, don't worry, I'll lower the bar so that you don't feel slighted.
When this is an expression of it, dude, look at the cops around you. Mm-hmm. What are the standards in society? And that's where I'm getting. The standards in society with stuff like this has become so low. There's 8 out of 10 cops I would not trust to save my life.
No.
Because they can't run more than 20 seconds at a dead sprint without falling over,
right,
and huffing and puffing, right? I could probably run from like the majority of the cops around here. And so like, what's that say for criminal activity? All this stuff, right? And like, so those are the consequences,
right,
of low standards. Those are the consequences.
And it starts at a young age, but again, it wasn't the kid.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I'm not.
It was the parent that built it and built it and built it, and that we've lowered our standards over time. And I'm not saying it's because of participation trophies, but it's like, okay, that's just one more thing that we were more worried about their emotional feelings. Like, horseshit. Like, what's wrong with building kids that are a little bit more hard, or that understand that I only get out what I put in? Like, is that so bad? Is there some emotional person, some bleeding heart that's, it could be detrimental? Like, show me the other side. Show me how we're going to take it to the negative. They're going to become a narcissist because we've pushed them to excel. The world is unbelievably awesome because of individuals that said, I can do more.
I could rattle off a list. Dwayne Johnson, Michael Jordan, all sorts of people that people look up to right now, especially, had to work hard for what they wanted.
Absolutely.
Right? They had a rough upbringing, right? They were challenged, they were kicked off teams, they were poor at times, whatever. Like, and I'm not talking about those two specifically, but I'm talking about the plethora of champions in life, business owners, athletes, right? All these people who say the same thing.
Work.
I had to work hard. I had to overcome obstacles.
Hey, Eric, I'm gonna challenge you on this. It won't even be a challenge, because I was just thinking this when you said this. Welfare.
Okay.
What does welfare condone?
Look, and so that's a big political argument, because I think the original reason for having welfare is a generally valid reason, but it's become to this point where there are no standards for it, and it's not teaching you the lessons that it was supposed to. Right. It was supposed to help people get out of troubling times.
Absolutely.
Right? But now it's something that everybody leans on. Well, not everybody. Most people lean on it.
It becomes a lifetime crutch.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. I'm not here to judge welfare. Is a great thing to help someone that hits the bottom. How do I get them back up?
Well, that's the thing. It's the hand up, right? At least that's the way it was intended. But now,
when I'm constantly giving it to them with no standard, and it says, don't worry, you don't have to work that hard because I will continually give this. It's kind of like the participation trophy. You did not excel, but it's okay.
There's no incentive.
I'm going to show you. Right, and that's what it is. It's the incentive. So my argument on this whole thing is why. That's my first one. Why do we feel it necessary to hand a child a trophy when it represents nothing but the fact that your parents dropped you off? That's it. Whether you excelled or not on that field, if I looked at the score at the end of the day and you lost 15-2, you lost. You did not perform at the level that gave you the W. If it was first, second, or third, and we said that's the rule, you get a trophy. Okay, but if it's eighth, I don't understand why we believe a child would be scorned or feel emotionally distraught when they knew the first three get the trophy. You were fourth. Damn, you were so close.
Come back again next year.
Come back and
after
work
an
harder.
off season of working hard, and you can get it too.
Or go home and tell dad, hey, I want to get better. Can you play with me? Can you show me how to do this better? I want to be that kid standing on the podium. Oh, wow, you want, not mom and dad wants. You found that energy. But you know what? I don't need that energy because I get a trophy regardless. And again, I don't think kids give a flying shit. It's a parent thing. It's a guilt thing. It's a judgment thing. Like, oh, we should get him something. Let's get him a snack. Let's get like bullshit. Bullshit. You're the guy in the store letting your kid have his tantrum and then giving him his Reese's peanut butter cup because you don't. And I see a lot of these kids. Again, I'm going off on a million tangents. Yeah. It's always those kids that are the undisciplined pain in the asses that are on the team that expect the stupid trophy.
Well, and it takes away from all the kids that really want to be there.
Absolutely.
And this personal experience, like with my kid, this is stuff that I do. This is stuff that I'm not just sitting here saying things.
Sure.
Right. A lot of this stuff I practice with my kid.
Yep.
And now it's at the point where, last year my kid kind of sucked at baseball. Right. And I told him, like, you want to get better. If you want to pitch, you want to show the coach that you can pitch, that you can be on the mound, that you can do these things. Right. You have to practice like you deserve to be there. Right. The other day, we're getting ready for school, 6:30 in the morning. Can we go outside and play catch?
Yeah.
Can I pitch? Can we go to the batting cages today? I want to get better. And he loves it. It's not a bad thing. Losing is allowed to suck.
Absolutely.
And winning is allowed to feel good.
Right.
Why did we take those emotions away? Why don't we consider those feelings? The lessons learned in winning, the lessons learned in losing, they're valuable.
Huge.
That is valuable.
Huge.
Those have value. Trophies don't.
No.
Trophies, even for first place, like honestly, like next one, next play. Why we get caught up on this sentimental shit about trophies, right? They're cool. But like you said, you're looking back in 30 years, unless it was like the Ohio Invitational Tournament that you won first place in, like,
right.
Next one, next play.
And if you can build up those trophies where you can show, wow, I really owned this spot or I did whatever. I mean, I think trophies are great. I think awards are great. I think it's all, I've run in marathons. I've run in triathlons. I've done all those things. And they give every single participant a participation trophy.
Fuck.
We all know as adults, that ribbon is just something we hang on the wall and be like, yeah, I ran that thing. It sucked. I think my time was like, third to last and blah, blah, blah. But I did it. Okay. Is that any better or worse than giving Johnny his trophy for his 6th grade Little League team? Who knows? I go back to what you said. Winning and losing builds character. It builds discipline. It builds everything. If you want to give a kid a participation trophy with the idea that it's going to push working harder, okay, keep doing it. But if you're just giving it because you have guilt that the kid may feel slighted because Johnny worked harder and he actually won and did what needed to do to excel and take first, second, or third, well, that's your problem. That's the parent's problem. And that's where I say, suck it up, build your kid up, give him more self-esteem that he's going to work harder for it instead of always trying to coddle his emotions and making sure he's in a safe place. Like, come on, let's be real.
That's a good point. And even last week we talked about making informed decisions, right? Because regardless of what we have to say, it's really just making an informed decision. Why are you doing what you're doing, right? That's the ultimate question. Like, why are you doing it? Are you doing it because you feel guilty? Because you want your kid to conform and be like everybody else? Do you want them to feel good, right? Like, or are you doing it because it really is the way that they're motivated to show up next year and work harder? Right. Oh, you got this. Well, you can have that, right? So it really does. It comes down to like, why are you doing it? Like, why? And are you basing it off of what your friends are doing or
Oh,
what
for
everybody
sure.
else is? You know what I mean? Like, are you just doing it because, you know, Jenny on the block did it or whatever, you know, like
conforming to the norm.
And so just sitting back and really questioning it and saying, like, why the hell am I doing the things that I'm doing? What standards am I setting? What values are in place? What things are being taught? What things are being learned? You know, and are they for the right reasons? Are they the hard things? Are they the easy things? Right? Like, these are just the questions that a lot of people, we just don't ask ourselves on a regular basis anymore because everything's handed out. Everything's easy. There's easy decisions to make left and right.
Yep.
You know, we don't have to make hard decisions because we just make an easy one.
Sure.
Everybody else is doing it.
Yeah.
Right? Why not?
Nope.
Why stand out when I can just fit in and get by and do what everybody else is doing and raise my kids the way that everybody else is raising them? Why do they need to stand out if they can just be mediocre and get through life like I got through life?
Right.
You know? And it's funny that you brought up the marathons and stuff because I get a medal every single time I run a Spartan. But I'll tell you what, the medal doesn't mean as much to me as finishing the fucking race.
Absolutely.
Right? So like, but we're adults and we get that, you know? And I hang my medals on the wall. Thank you very much. But, you know, I didn't just show up.
Right.
Right. And I think that's the difference too. As an adult, we understand that when you do stuff like that, when you run a marathon, you don't just show up to a marathon.
Right. You've trained, you've worked hard.
You bust
You
butt.
just don't walk a marathon.
Yeah, you don't. Well, some people do, but like, you don't walk into a marathon.
Right.
Right. Like, there's preparation. There's time invested. You're showing up when you don't want to show up. You're not the kid on the field picking daisies. You're
Right.
the kid on the field who's ready to go every single play, eyes up, eyes on the ball, moving, you know? And
Right.
that's where I was talking about earlier is what warrants a participation trophy. You know? And I guess that's like a personal opinion kind of thing because I do appreciate the medals. If they didn't hand them out, I'd still sign up. Some of them are pretty cool. I kind of
Sure.
like them, but,
You know what?
but still, it's just, yeah,
right.
you know,
I think what it comes down to for me is this. And it'll be my word of forever. And I've said it forever. The 3-year-old. Why?
Mhm.
When did it start? Why did it start? And is it really necessary? If we took it away today and said that there's no longer any participation trophies, will sports change? Will our children change? Will their emotional disconnect just ruin their whole life? My personal belief is no. It's something adults have pushed into the emotional world of children to satisfy their own guilt or ego or issues with their son or daughter not being good enough and wanting to prevent hurt.
Right.
So, you know, you can tell my feelings on this whole thing. My son will come home with an 8th place trophy and it will go right in the garbage. And I will teach him, you did not work for that. That was just something the league felt guilty and they gave it to you. So learn. If you want to put that on your wall, go put it on the wall. And later on in life, you can tell your friends, I didn't win that trophy. It was handed to me. And he'll learn. And some might say, T, that's harsh. What's harsh about it? Would I yell at my kid for getting a D when I know he's smart enough to get an A, but he didn't apply himself and he didn't study? That was me.
Oh, okay. For sure, yeah.
All right. Would I reward a D? Because if you rewarded a D, I wouldn't work any harder than I need to.
Hell no.
But
that's the standard.
That's the standard. You know, grades are important, but don't worry. Thanks for showing up and kicking dirt in right field and picking daisies.
Yeah, at least you weren't out doing drugs and
right.
skipping school.
I end kind of on the thought of, you know, this conversation is not going to change the world. God, it would be amazing if it did.
Maybe.
But it's airing out that thing where if you're going to listen to this, it's ask yourself why. Why are you promoting having a trophy? Why are we promoting not having a trophy? Is it something that is truly going to make or break your child and their development into adulthood? What is it teaching them? And I would love in the comments, you know, tell me why. Don't just argue and say we're idiots or anything like that, but tell me what it is that you think this trophy is going to bring your child at whatever level, if they did not win first, second, or third. Is it really something? If I said today there's going to be a government rule through, the crazy government that we live under right now, that they say participation trophies are no longer allowed, they're all illegal. Is your child's life going to change? Who knows?
I don't know. It only existed in the last like 100 years. So
Right.
what did we do before that?
It's getting worse.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, this has been a long one. We've gone round and round. Leave your comments. Have some fun with it. I don't even care if you want to tell us we're idiots. I'd love to hear it, but leave your comments and, let's see what you have to say.
I get off on being told I'm an idiot. So
yeah, it's the story of our life, right? So, all right, guys, have a great day.
All right, take care. See you.